All right, how is everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for checking out the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? I'm actually back in the car here, cruising through Iowa. Hopefully the audio won't be too bad. I like doing these podcasts in the car, or at least the ones where I'm just talking, not the ones where I'm going to be interviewing different people. Obviously, need much better audio for that, but today what I'm going to get into is what I call stop giving yourself the pass. I just did a podcast actually earlier on desires and figuring out what your desires are, but at the same time don't letting them destroy you if you don't get them very quickly. And also figuring out a lot of times what your desires are and what is attached to them, like I've talked about before. Say you want a big home or you want a sports car, realize all the added expense or all the stress that comes along with it. And also, just because you don't always get what you want when you want it, stop making everybody else around you miserable, right? Boo-hoo for you. If everybody got what they wanted, everybody would be everybody be in a 1%, let's put it that way, at least from a financial position, right? So, and we all know that's not happening. So, but on this subject, I went back and forth with my friend because I realized a lot of times people are always giving themselves a pass as far as becoming not what they wanted to become, or they're just lazy. They have all these aspirations, they're always talking, they have all these opinions, but they never seem to get anything done themselves. And I think now more than ever, we're distracted, and I get that too, because I'm distracted just as much as everybody else. But I really have to put the hammer down, is what I call it, and take time out to, one, figure out, again, talking about desires, what I want, and really be realistic about that, and how I'm going to go about getting those things, and kind of understanding the components and studying really what's also involved. Like I said, a lot of times we make a lot of mistakes. We may want certain things, we get them. Again, we don't realize how much, it could be financial stress, any type of stress that comes along with that. But once you do figure out what you want, start heading in that direction, which I think a lot of people are kind of good at the beginning. Saying, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to start working on this, or you know what, my dream is to do this, or I'm going to start my own side business, or I'm going to, all this shit people talk and never seem to get it done. Now, a lot of times people have a lot more time, I always talk about this, than they proclaim they have. You'd swear talking to society now that they're slammed, like everybody's all of a sudden got 2 jobs, and their kids are more demanding now than ever, or their kids are in more sports, or I got to do so much more at work. I think things are more convenient for people than ever. So I don't know what everybody keeps talking about. And here's the other thing, learn to get creative, right? If you want certain things, or certain desires again, but if you have certain things you want, do you really want them? I'd say 99% don't want them. They want to talk about them. Or they want to talk about doing them than actually doing them. And the truth is they keep giving themselves an out or a pass, as I would call it. I have tons of friends, especially even ones in business that own their own business, that keep saying, you know what, it's time to do this, or it's time to do that. It's all these other things. And I always said a lot of times, a lot of people, and this goes for people, again, that own businesses or that have jobs. A lot of times they have all these different things they want to do. And one is they don't get off their ass to do it. But here's the thing a lot of times, and this is where I think laziness comes from. If you're working a decent job, right, or you have a successful business, and you're the type of person who does want to try different things, just never gets around to it, and what happens is you use the excuse of the business when things are going good. Like, I can't leave now. I'm afraid if I try a new job, or I'm afraid if I do this in business, it'll be unsuccessful, or if I do this or that, right? And I get that. So what happens is they're kind of stuck in a rut, I call it. Now they're in the situation they're in. No changes are being made. Nothing is really that gratifying anymore. You kind of know what's going to happen every week. It becomes boring. I don't care how much money's involved. Everything eventually will wear itself out. So then the other component is, now things a lot of times don't go as good as you think for as long as you think they're going to go. That goes again for a job or a business. So things start to slide backwards, right? You're not in the black, you start to head towards the red. Now what do? Now you shit your pants. Now you never want to make a move because you're like, oh my God, you're trying to constantly redeem or bring back what you were doing before from a financial standpoint. You're like, how can I make a move now? Look where my sales are now. They're not like they were before. I got to get them back here, at least to break even, or I got to do this to get this. I got to do that to do that. And again, I understand that. But the truth is, when things are just kind of mediocre or flatlining, I say, just kind of, you're going, the way it's going, or if it's going up, that's when you have to start making your moves, not waiting till the bottom drops out. I have friends on the board of trade at the Merck in Chicago, stock traders, I don't know what they trade different stuff. They do all different things with that, let's put it that way. And when they were making tons of money, and when I was younger, I made a lot of money, and I said, now is the time to start investing it in different things, trying different things. Oh, no way, man, I'm making enough money now. I don't even want to try anything, or I don't have time for that. I just want to focus in on this. I'm like, don't wait till the bottom falls out. Guess what started to happen as years go by? Eventually, the economy is always going to be up, down, take a shit. So guess what starts happening? 2007, 2008, whatever, it starts plummeting. Now what? Now they're scrambling. Now not only are they losing money, or they're not as successful, now they're afraid to do anything. And then eventually, like a lot of things, keep going down, down, down. Now, guess what? Now they're paralyzed. Now they're just trying to find another job when things are horrendous. Or they're trying to start another business, but they're scrambling. Or trying to find another profession. Whatever they were trying to do, that is the wrong time to do it because desperation comes involved. And when you are desperate, you are going to lose. I call it death spirit. Most things never, not everything. Sometimes when you're desperate, something may come out of it. I'm not, a lot of times when people make the right changes for themselves, it is sometimes because they're desperate and they're backed into a corner and they have no other choice, sometimes but to make a certain move. But for the most part, desperation leads usually to a lot of bad decisions. That goes for relationships as well. When you start backpedaling, or you start, your relationship isn't what it once was, or you got in trouble doing something, or somebody did something to you, whatever the case may be, and you start acting out of desperation and not thinking clearly and not having the time to really do what you're supposed to do, make the right move at the right time, it's usually going to fall apart. I mean, for the most part. So again, let me get back to giving yourself a pass. Back to a lot of people, and I've done this myself, so I'm not saying, it's just, I think this goes for a lot of people, when they hit the wall a little bit, so you're trying something. So I've been through this, I'll just use for an example, I've been creating my new app called the You Around, which has been one of the biggest pains of asses in my life. One is, I thought creating an app would cost some money, and it does. And that isn't even the big component. So I created this app. It's an app to help anyone in a time of need. I love the concept behind it. So basically the app is set up where if you need something or you need to reach out to somebody, you have your own, internal people that you can use. So for instance, if you need a ride to the airport and you don't want to spend money on Uber or Lyft, you can send out immediate message to say, hey, I need a ride tomorrow at this time. Whoever wants to pick you up or whoever's in the area can help you. There's a lot of other components to this app besides that, but you get the idea. So, I had one guy design it, programmer, come in. After everything was said and done, we're almost done, tries to steal it. First he tries to actually sell it. And said, listen, I got somebody who could buy it in Germany for a decent amount of money. And he had a non-disclosure. He shouldn't even been telling anybody about it. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You're not even supposed to do that. So, to make a long story short, he then said, well, I could just literally said, I'll steal it from you and sell it to them. What rights do you think you have in Germany? Which I've kind of been involved with that before. You really don't. So anyways, I had to threaten a lawsuit and the whole shebang. So that was like a wasted 6 months to a year of my life. Finding the right person, going back and forth, getting it to where I wanted. So now I'm spending another 6 months finding someone new that I can trust, truly trust, back and forth, getting all these different bids. A lot of these prices were insane. Meetings, discussions, you get the picture. Now we're going on 2 years. I'm starting with a whole new developer. I have some new ideas. We're going back and forth. Now for a year again. Now I know a lot of times it may take a lot less to create an app. I'm not a tech guy. Not only that, I had a certain budget. I was only willing to spend on this. Back to having a desire, which I did on my other podcast. There's a difference between having a desire, I told you, that is something that can help you or destroy you. I've had desires that, and I think a lot of people fall in this, they either in businesses, it could be homes, it could be many different things that destroy you financially. So I had to be very cautious of what I spent, so I wasn't able to go with somebody huge. Plus, I wasn't willing, regardless, to spend that much money, because this was just kind of a hobby that became very stressful, though, at the same time. So I find someone else, great guys, trying to do the best they can. And I'm not going to say that we weren't consistently making changes, but a lot of the changes they wanted to make was on them as much as it was me. I really didn't want to change much. I just wanted it to work a certain way. But as time went on, they became, again, more and more distant, not because of me and not because I wasn't paying them. I paid them what they wanted to get paid. But like a lot of people, I don't know if you've ever dealt with people in technology, especially younger people, they usually a lot of times start off all hot and heavy with your project, starts off great, and then other projects start to come or something better, and you kind of you don't even realize it, but now you're in the back burner, slowly but surely, especially if they start getting bored. And that's what happens. So now I actually have to find somebody else. And usually I would blame myself in certain situations to say, Rich, you didn't treat them right this way and that way. But, I've been doing this long enough that I've made films, I've written books, and I've dealt with a lot of people in many different aspects of business, owning my own businesses, ups and downs. In this case, I really treated them all very well, was always honest, paid every one of them what they wanted, when they wanted it, as far as the deal that what they wanted out of it, or what they wanted to charge me. So I stuck to my guns, and to make a long story short, I now was so frustrated that I was ready to quit. And I still kind of am on the fence. I'm still, and the thing is, am I going to give myself the pass? Am I going to be a quitter? My problem in life is I hate quitting so much, I'll let a project destroy me. I'll let it literally destroy me. I don't know how to explain it. I'll use a lot of my money and time. I am the guy who says I'm going to start something, I have to finish it. Even if it's shitty, you would think a lot of times, I always said a lot of times, people quitting on certain projects or not doing it, that's a good thing because you dodged a lot of bullets a lot of times. No, I'm the one who will go to the end of the race regardless. And I find myself in this position again. Even though I have a lot of other things I'm working on with work, with my new programs, mastering self-confidence. Obviously, I have this podcast. I'm doing a YouTube channel now. All these other things, I'm throwing the app in there. Now, is that somebody, I sometimes think it's a focus issue. I really do. I need to keep moving. It's an ADD sickness, I guess. Attention deficit disorder? Is that what ADT? Whatever. Attention deficit, ADD, yeah. I forget these things. But I've always needed to do more than one thing. Even when I was making my films, I was writing, directing, producing, sometimes even in my films, and the next thing you know, I'm still writing news on my free time. I'm also writing screenplays like crazy. Trying to raise money for films or doing a film at the same time writing books. That's just who I am. And I think one thing, if I could go back, I wish maybe sometimes I could just focus on one thing. And I've tried one thing, but what happens with me is I get extremely bored. I need almost mental stimulation from different components, or I almost go crazy because what I'm doing is when I'm working on one thing, focus-wise, I'm focus. I'm going to get it done. When I'm not doing that, I need to take a break from that. My mind is still going. It's not like I could shut my brain off. I don't even really like vacationing. I travel all over the country, but that doesn't mean I like the vacation because I'm stagnant. Like I've been even on a cruise before, and I start to go a little nuts. I don't know how to shut it down. I guess Italy was my true vacation when I go there because all I do is eat, drink. I relax there. I like it. I don't speak the language very well. I understand some of it, but it forces me really to relax in an environment that everything there I love to do. I love that we only are going to eat Italian food. I love that. I'm only going to be shopping in areas that are, I loved all that. So that's kind of a real vacation to me. To go sit on an island for a week and do nothing but lay by water. I've lived in Florida and California, Southern Cal for a majority of my life, so that doesn't, I could do that, I feel like, at any time. Still live in Florida. So anyways, back to you giving yourself a pass, whoever's listening to this, don't quit on yourself. You're going to have, I talk about this all the time, sometimes I feel redundant, but good days, bad days, right? You're going to have good hours and bad hours even. You're going to have good weeks, bad weeks, good years, bad years. You know, when things are going good, no one acknowledges it for the most part. It's just expected. It's going great. But when something shitty happens or something goes wrong, people freak out. And if something goes wrong, there's a reason. Learn from it. Kick it in the ass. I almost do better in battle, meaning when something goes wrong in my life, I'm actually more responsive to that. When things are kind of just smooth for me, I'm kind of chilling. I'm slow like a sloth going. But God forbid I run into obstacles like the app, say for instance, I almost go in my mind to war. I want to attack. The last thing I want to do in my case, or in my situation, is give myself a pass. I feel like a pussy. Even if I go inside the gym, some days I know that I'm not hitting it as hard as others. There's no question about that, just from what my schedule was like work-wise and all these different things. But a lot of times if I start pussyfooting around or start being like, oh, you don't got to do that, chill out here, I'll go in the gym and just kill myself. Like, just destroy myself. So I'm sore for days on end. Just to do it, to say, hey, what are you doing here? We're at the gym to work out. We're here to, be intense. We are here to get something accomplished. I'm not here to walk around and just start, lifting weights just to lift them and think about other things. No, I'm here to get this done. I want results. That's what I expect when I do this. If I'm just there thinking I can only put in 10 or 20% and get results, why even go, right? But a lot of times, again, with people working out, I see this happen all the time. At home, they work out pretty well, but when they travel, they don't. They're giving themselves a pass. Why? Then they're like, you know what? I don't feel good. It's iffy. It's this and that. Well, I'm like, well, you work out for, 1 week for 3 days. The next week, you don't work out at all. The next week, you go 2 days. Then you take off another week, or who knows. Well, I don't feel. And here's the thing. If you're going to go by your feelings all the time, fuck feelings, right? Because for the most part, especially the older you get, the tireder you're going to feel. And then before you know it, you're programming yourself to say, hey, I'm tired. I'm going to, again, give myself a pass today. And before you know it, I'm going to do this. No, you know what? I'm older now. I'm going to give myself a pass. And you know what? This is this. And I get that there's certain things you're never going to be able to do that you were doing when you were younger. That's kind of obvious. And I tell people that all the time. You have to acknowledge that, especially in the gym. Most of my buddies that are going on 50 or in their mid-40s or in their mid-50s, still trying to keep up with what they were lifting weights when they were 25, I'm like, you're just hurting yourself at this point. But the thing, don't get caught up with the weight. Get caught up in the workout, what you're getting out of the workout. But it also doesn't mean that now that you're older, I can't work out with weights. Who knows what's going to happen with my joints or my tendons or my muscles. I'm going to give myself a pass and just maybe walk or maybe just do this. And if that's what you want to do, God bless. But if you still have it inside of you to do certain things, I always say there's actually three in my head. Like, you have two sides there. You got one saying, hey, I want to do this, this, this. And the other one kind of talking you out of it, telling you it's kind of complicated and, it's hard to do and blah, blah, blah. I say a third voice should come in and tell both of those voices to shut up and just go do it. Quit talking about it in your head. We have these discussions and we almost argue with ourselves in our heads. Like, should I give myself the pass today or should I not? Like today, I'm driving for about 3.5 hours. I want to work out. I'm going to work out, right? Yesterday, though, I got screwed because it was horrible weather. My flights were a lot longer than I thought. I got in too late and I had to do something for work and I didn't work out. But here's the difference. I legitimately couldn't go. But when I have free time, I go. So sometimes you aren't always going to get what you want, right? But you don't get nuts with yourself because you know when you do have the time to do it, you're not copping out. That's how I look at it. It's when you have the time to do it and you're coming up with excuses all the time, which most people do, or they're not willing to change their schedule up or change their lifestyle to kind of get what they really want, right? That's kind of what you got to really do. And really, a lot of times you saying what you want or all these things you're going to do, they're just shit talking. You really have no interest. Again, most people, it's like sports. People, we talk sports all the time. And it's a lot different to talk sports than obviously play them. Everyone has, it's like opinion. I said opinions are like assholes. You all got to have one, right? But a lot of people are always talking about what they're going to do. And they know in the back of their head, they're never going to do it. But they keep talking about this month after month, or week after week, month after month, year after year. I've got tons of friends, family members and colleagues, and nothing against them. I eventually have to call them out. I can't take it anymore and say, dude, just do it or shut the fuck up. We get it. We know what you want to do. What do you want us to do? Do it for you? You need to figure out how to do what you want to do. And if you're not, stop talking about it, or just, talk to other people about it. I don't want to keep hearing that you're going to start another business, or you're going back to get a degree, or you're going to start your own podcast, or you're going to start your own YouTube channel, or you're going to make a movie, or you're going to blah, blah, blah. You're going to do this, do that. Each week you come to me, you should be coming to me with what you've gotten accomplished. Not in the same spot you keep talking. Do you have a business plan? Do you have anything written down? Do you have anything different than what I spoke to you a week ago, a month ago, a year ago? All this is it's like wind, it's air. All talk is talk. What is talk? I mean, if in this case, podcast or something in this nature, people are listening to it, you're recording it, which hopefully, gives people the opportunity to listen to you. They can believe in what you're speaking about or not. Fine, but it's kind of hopefully educational or something. Even if you think it's full of shit, you're hearing somebody else's perception or any of these things. But when you're sitting across from people that are always talking shit or talking about what they're going to do without ever doing it, I call it like audio assault after a while, right? And don't be afraid to speak up or call people out who are constantly giving themselves a pass, because what happens a lot of times is you kind of get intertwined in their life. And that can even be happening with your workplace or colleagues. Let's do this, let's do that. You talk about it, right? Or they'll get you involved. Hey, let's do fantasy football, or let's do this, and it never happens. Or, hey, let's go on a vacation, guys. We're all going to hit Vegas next year, right? Then the next year comes, it never happens. This never happens. All this type of shit. Call them out and say, listen, stop talking about it. Put it together, shut up, and move on. And I don't mean to be an asshole. You don't have to talk to them in that nature. I'm not saying to be an asshole. But people got to understand when they're either talking to you or either trying, I'm not saying they're manipulating you, but a lot of people, again, are so used to giving themselves a pass that they think they could do that with you being involved as well. And you should not allow that. I don't believe it. I don't get others involved. I'm not like, a lot of people are always like, Rich, you travel all over the place. I'm like, listen, you are always welcome to travel with me. You won't have most likely a car rental. Sometimes I can even pay for the airfare, hotels. We pay for our own food or whatever. That's on us, whatever. If you'd like to go to certain places, let me know. I have friends for years. And I've been traveling for 10 years and I've traveled everywhere. Dude, I'm going with you. Dude, I'm going next time you go here. Dude, I'm going, I promise this time. Promise next time you hit LA. I promise the next time you're in Canada. Oh my God, you're going to be in New York. I'm going to go. I tell them, all of them. It's 99.9% of them. And mind you, they're not paying for anything except maybe their airfare, maybe, and food. And a lot of times I even drive, so not only do I hit one state, a lot of them I'll hit 3, 4, 5 different areas. They'll get to see everything. You know who shows? Nobody. There's always a million excuses why they can't go. But they can't use the financial excuse usually with me because they know. So now it's, oh my God, it's this time, next time. Oh, it's this time. Even if I show my schedule 2 months out, I'll be like, hey, this is, or next year I'm going to be here, there. I'm in, no show. What does that show you? That just shows how much people talk shit. Again, they're giving themselves the pass over and over and over again. If they really wanted, for instance, to go to New York or see LA or see Vancouver or see whatever they want to see, they will go. Right? Back to desires, but a lot of people's desires, as far as this goes, is full of shit. What they want to do and what they're willing to do is two totally different things. And I think I can't say we've been programmed this way as we're getting older, But I think we kind of vicariously live through the internet, where before you didn't have those type of experiences. So for instance, if you want to see what hypothetically Italy looks like, you can go watch YouTube, tons of different things, and see what it's like to actually be there, even though you're not there. But you kind of get an idea, where before, years ago, unless you saw it in a movie or a documentary, you had no choice but to go there, right? And that's the same as far as tons of friends, family members, everybody. I travel all over, and it's hard for me as well, but a lot of times, next time you're in town, we're doing dinner. Next time, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. I'll text them, or whatever the case may be. They don't have time. And I used to goof around and say, everybody wants you when you're not around. Anytime I'm out of town, everyone wants to do dinner. Anytime I get back to town, everyone's too busy. It kind of reminds me of when you die. When you're gone, everybody misses you. When you're around, nobody cares. After traveling for so many years, I really found that component to be true. And I didn't mean to go into that. But again, as far as giving yourself the pass, people always think there's a next time. I'll text you. Or, next time. And that's another thing, giving yourself a pass, because you always think there's going to be a next time, but a lot of times there really isn't. And before you know it, you're too old. And I'm going through that with my father. My father always wanted to go to Italy, Europe, and I've never taken him. His parents are from Italy. And I had a friend that had, her parents wanted to take her to China. She never went. She actually lived in Chinatown, New York. And her mother, all she wanted to do was go on a trip with her. And she never went. Why? I have no idea. And then her mother got sick, and then she definitely couldn't go, and then passed away. And I don't know if she's been to China or not. She says that is the most regretful thing she's ever done in her life. Every day it weighs out on her. Her mother's from China. That's all she really wanted, and she didn't do it. And I'm not saying this is an extreme case. But, she kept saying, yeah, I'll do it. We'll do it eventually. We'll do it. I promise we'll get around to it. Again, you're giving yourself kind of a pass to... That's not even giving yourself a pass. You just need to be honest and say, I don't want to go, is what I should say in that case. But now I think she's talking about going to China, which is wonderful, or maybe she isn't. I think she mentioned it. And he and on again, maybe not. Again, stop giving yourself a pass. Just, is it your desire or it isn't? That was a little different, but I thought I would throw that in, because a lot of times with certain people in your life, what I'm saying is, as far as giving yourself the pass or an out, they're not going to be around forever, and you already know that. You've heard it a million times. But when you actually lose somebody, and you wanted to do certain things with them, and you kept giving yourself an out, and it can even be being in a relationship with them, and I don't even mean intimate, just having an old friendship rekindled, or going to visit somebody, or any of this thing, you always made yourself sound busier than you are, or distracted, or come up with all these excuses, because again, you just kept giving yourself the pass. And don't live your life like that. Lately, I more than ever have been reaching out to a lot of my family members throughout the United States and going out of my way. I just did that, even in Wisconsin, which I'm not a huge Wisconsin fan. My cousin now moved to Wisconsin. I know she doesn't have any family there. I specifically went out of my way. Big deal. But I went later at night when I knew she was closing the mall to go visit her, to have some coffee with her, to see her. Haven't seen her in years. But even when it's funny, when she's in Chicago, I never see her, and then she goes to Wisconsin. But I did that in Arizona with some other family members. I have a lot of family in Arizona, and I kind of was only seeing, one side of the family, a lot more than the other. And I kept saying, next time, giving myself a pass, I guess in this thing. Next time I went out, it was actually my birthday. I ended up being in Arizona, and I ended up going to dinner with some of my relatives. They took me to dinner, and I said the next day there was another big party on one side of my family, the one I always see in Arizona. I said, you know what? I'm going to go with my other side of the family and see them, because we're just going to all just go have a dinner. My cousin has a pool, and I got to see them all, and it was wonderful. And a lot of times I've been kind of blowing that off. I don't know why. I just think it's just the way it goes. And I just said, stop coming up with excuses. Because back to the past, a lot of what we say and do, they're just lying to ourselves or bullshitting ourselves to make ourselves feel good or the other people feel good. If you don't have time for them, just say I don't have time for you. If you don't want to do something, I just don't want to do it right now. I think that would be a lot better, but I think a lot of times people ask us things and we almost have to bullshit them to come up with excuses not to do things with them. Don't do that. Just be genuine and say, listen, and I don't mean to be hurtful, like, Rich, you want to do dinner when you come back to town? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. If I only have a week, you know what? Let's do it in like this time frame, or let's set it up, and that's when I'll do it, because that's when I won't be tired, or that's when I'll have more time. But if I don't want to do it, then you're kind of like, dude, you know what? I'm just not down with going out right now. I'm just exhausted from eating at restaurants. I'm traveling so much, I'm just not down. Just being honest with them. I realize a lot of times when I travel a lot, so I'm constantly on the go. I'm constantly eating at restaurants and everything. When I get back to Florida, where I'm at, I have to run and go see my kid or kids. And then I got to run and go see my dad, and I got to run to see everybody else. No one really ever comes to me. I choose that. But I don't use the excuse when I get back there to say, you know what? I'm the one who's always driving. You come to me. And if I say that, I may or may not see them. I want to make sure I see my kids. I want to make sure I see my dad. I never know what's going to happen. Other family members we have on the outskirts, even if it's an hour drive. I just got invited to a Christmas dinner, and I only see them once a year. All my other cousins that live far out of Orlando, and I try to make an effort to see them. Last year I was traveling, but my point being is I don't get my a pass to say, you know what, I drive all the time. I can't drive that extra hour when I'm in town. Bullshit. Now, again, if I don't want to do it, I'll just tell her I can't make it to my cousin Linda. But in this case, I'm not. But anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. But try not to come up with excuses for yourself or lie to yourself or, again, give yourself a pass. You want to get something accomplished, you don't have to accomplish it immediately. And I think that's what freaks people out. They're like, hey, I'm going to build a website, because they see commercials or they hear that, oh, I got to have it up in a week, or it'll look, or it'll look like shit, or this or that. Don't worry about all that. If you want to build a website or sell shit online, take it slow, but just be consistent. You want to keep taking a step every day. It doesn't mean you have to all of a sudden hit the ground running. And that's what I think a lot of people who want to create things or do things, they all of a sudden go from nothing to a full-blown sprint. If you're going to start working out, I tell people, just start off walking. Get the blood flow going, and you may not have to jump into a gym immediately. If you want to lose weight, you don't have to lose tons of weight very quickly. Just slowly but surely be consistent. Back up a little on your portions if it's food. Start walking a little more. If you do join a gym, learn a little bit before you even go in there. Watch videos. Same with, like I was just saying, with a website. If you're going to create it yourself or you're going to have somebody else create it, just take the small increments or steps. Now, say you want to create a website, you get into it, you find out it's a lot more complicated than you thought. That doesn't mean you're going to give yourself a pass and quit. Spend some money and get the right person to do the right job. If you have the desire to do that, a lot of things cost money. And I think people think it's free, or they're going to do something different than anybody. I'm going to be so creative. I'm going to do this for a couple $100s. Well, a lot of times, believe me when I tell you, you can tell when something's done cheaply. It just doesn't work. It doesn't look right. Now, other people that are masters at, if you're a programmer and you know that's your job, of course you could do a website for free or do it because that's a joke to you, But if you want to do certain things, most likely it's going to cost money. Figure out, be creative, how to save that money or manipulate your money toward that direction. Now, if you're doing things that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, don't be shocked when it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like tons of people I used to run into for 20 years saying, I'm going to make a movie, and they don't have a pot to piss in. They don't even have money, I call it, to raise money. You don't even have money to put anything even together. You don't even have for a line producer. You don't know how, and not only that, you don't have any idea what you're doing. So educate yourself. Again, make sure you're doing things correctly. All right. I got to eat lunch. All right, if you get a chance, check out my Mastering Self-Confidence program. If you're a single dude, you went through a bad breakup or divorce. I also have a YouTube channel. It's just my name, Rich CELENZA. And what else do I got? I have this. And that's it for now. I wish you guys nothing but the best. Take care. And if you're traveling, safe travels.